All right. Hi, everybody. So my name is Colin McCullough, and I'm teaching a cooking class for Chef AJ's Ultimate Weight Loss Bundle. And so there's going to be a number of things before we get started. There's going to be 5 different recipes that we'll go over today of making salad dressings that have very little to no fat at all, oil-free dressings. So we will get to that in a little bit. A couple things first. So just want to say a huge thank you to Chef AJ. She invited me to be part of the bundle, obviously, but um, she's really inspired me to teach a lot of cooking classes. That's what I do. I teach a lot of vegan, healthy, whole foods cooking classes throughout New England. All right. So when I saw her teach cooking classes on the Holistic Holiday at Sea cruise, went several times, and to see her share with everybody these great recipes, then I really was inspired to come back to where I live and do the same. And so I teach a lot of cooking classes for free at different libraries throughout New England, both online and in person as well. So I've been vegan for about 26 years now, and I have 2 boys who are both vegan. They are 19 and 22. Uh, and they have been vegan their whole lives as well. So, a huge part of how I've learned how to cook was from, it's one thing for me to try to eat healthy, but trying to get my kids to eat healthy food, trying to incorporate more healthy, whole food, plant-based food instead of just, going for the convenient, frozen, kind of junk food stuff, the um, easy burgers and things like that. There's a whole number of different strategies you can do to try and eat healthy and have it be really convenient at the same time. So I wrote the Healthy Vegan Cookbook that has over 200 different recipes in it. Lots of sauces, dressings, smoothies, soups, all kinds of things. And then also there's the smoothies that taste like Girl Scout cookies that I wrote. So that's using healthy whole food ingredients to recreate the flavors of all of the different Girl Scout cookies in smoothie form. So that's really where I come from. The class that we're going to do today, like I said, oil-free, mostly fat-free to no-fat salad dressings. If you've ever had the fat-free dressings that you get in the store, um, I have always hated them. It's just they're like slime, right? So like whatever thickeners and stuff they put in it, it just does. It's not the same at all. It comes out kind of slimy and it's gross. And you know, I I don't I like to make my own fresh salad dressings. So I'm really guilty. When I was a kid, I was definitely the kid at like the salad bar that I would take like gobs of salad dressing and just like totally drown my salad in salad dressing, and my parents would get so upset and they'd say, you know, you've taken something healthy and then you made it really really unhealthy. Or at a restaurant, I would get some salad and they give you like a tiny little cup of salad dressing, and I'd be like, what the heck, give me more. So, using recipes like what we're going to do today, it's a way to get the same kind of flavors and consistency of the salad dressing that you're used to without all the oil, without all the fat. There are definitely other ways to do that. So, uh, one thing I do want to mention is California Balsamic is a company that Chef AJ works with sometimes. They have a great SOS salt, oil, and sugar-free line of balsamic vinaigrettes, and those are so good. I've had a number of them. They have different flavors, lots of different flavors that you can choose from. So if you don't want to have to make something yourself, you just want to order it. California Balsamics, you go on their website, they've got a lot of different ones to choose from. So that's one possibility for you. Um, if you make your own fresh salad dressing, um, this isn't the kind of thing that you're going to be able to buy in a supermarket because using fresh ingredients, it's only going to last about 4 days. There's ways to store it and things that, we can talk about in a bit, but, that's sort of my my 4-day fresh rule is anytime that you use fresh whole food ingredients, it's probably only going to last about 4 days. So you have that bottle of salad dressing in your refrigerator that has been in there for like 3 months and it's still good. Why? It's not supposed to last that long. So, whatever preservatives that they put in there, it's going to preserve the salad dressing, but it's not going to preserve you. So, I like to make my own, my fresh dressings. And so, in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook, I have a number of different salad dressing recipes. No oil. I do like to use cashews in making the salad dressing to kind of give it more of a creamy consistency. But, of course, cashews definitely have some calories and fat to them. There are some alternatives that we're going to talk about today in these recipes. So, one is going to be I like to use Morinu silken tofu. Silken tofu, it has a different kind of consistency than regular tofu that you find in the supermarket. It really has more of a custardy kind of consistency. It blends really well, and also it doesn't really have much of a taste. So it really helps to make things nice and creamy. It does have a little bit of fat to it, but it's really a nominal amount of fat. So there are some other alternatives we'll certainly talk about. So if you're allergic to soy, can't have it, then there's other ways to do it too. But the Morinu box, that's Morinu tofu that's in the aseptic box here. It is shelf stable, so that's why I really like to use it. I can get it at the regular supermarket that I go to. It's in the ethnic section, usually in with the Asian food, and it's shelf stable, so you don't have to refrigerate it. You can just put it in the pantry. It's going to last for months. And so I use this for salad dressings and in different dessert recipes and even in some smoothies sometimes. So, people say, where do you get your tofu? I probably get too much tofu. So there's the silken tofu. One alternative to that is you can use a cauliflower blend, which I'll talk about in when we're making the recipes as well. But basically, the cauliflower blend, this is a 1-to-1 ratio of water and cauliflower. So I'll take the frozen cauliflower rice or frozen cauliflower florets, just so that I can have it on hand all the time, keep it in my freezer. Um, I will cook that. You want to make sure it's cooked because that kind of blunts the taste of it a little bit. And then, in like a 2-cup jar, I'll fill it up with the rice cauliflower, and then I'll go ahead and pour in water until the water is at the same level as the top of the cauliflower. And then I'll go ahead and blend that. You really want to let this run for like 4 or 5 minutes. You really want this to blend up really, really well so that it's really nice and creamy. So you can use cauliflower as a base, the cauliflower blend as a base to making these salad dressings, and it would be fat-free if you do that. The other alternative to that is you can use cooked potato as well. Um, so like I said, like the 1-to-1 ratio, water and cooked potato, you want to go ahead and blend that a long time, just like I did with the cauliflower, and then you can use that as a base. The starch in the potato really helps to thicken up the salad dressings that way. So you can definitely do that. Want to talk about storing these for a minute. So one of the ways that I like to use is this is a silicone um, ice cube tray. So I don't like to use the plastic trays. I don't really like to have my ice cubes taste like salad dressing. So with these, it doesn't really leave any flavor, and it's really easy to get these out. You can order these on Amazon for like $5. So these are pretty cheap. So I'll fill this up with the salad dressings. I'll put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer, and then anytime I need a little bit of salad dressing, I can just take a couple of cubes out and heat those up. So that's one way. Or you can also use the little half-pint jars, the glass mason jars. They do have a fill line. That's right about here. So you don't want to fill it up all the way. It'll break when you freeze it. But you can put the salad dressing in these little jars, and it's really going to store it for, um, like I said, in the freezer. It'll last for months. All right, so last thing before we get started, as always, for all of the cooking demonstrations, cooking classes that I do, I always say the Vitamix is the star of the show, not me. Wish I was paid by them to say so, but I'm not. Uh, so, you know, I always say in the cooking classes that I do, if you're willing to invest some money into trying to cook healthier, live healthier, then my money I would always recommend putting to a really powerful blender first. You can get the air fryer and the instant pot and all that stuff later, but a really good blender. I use this for soups and smoothies and dressings and um, just all kinds of different things. I use it all the time. So you know of all of the different appliances and gadgets and things that I have in my kitchen, if for whatever reason, if the Vitamix broke, I would go to the store and buy another one today because I use it so much. I use it all the time. So you don't need to have a Vitamix to make these recipes. If you have a NutriBullet or a Ninja or something like that, that'll work too. Um, Vitamix is pretty expensive to buy if it's new, but you can certainly find them on eBay or Craigslist. Keep an eye for them. They're used. They do last a really long time. So I have two Vitamixes. One I've had for about 25 years now, and it's still going strong. So they do last a long time. Um, Best investment you can make as far as I'm concerned. So there's that. All right. So also just wanted to add, I always start my cooking classes by saying, the USDA recommends 4 to 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. So it's probably not a surprise to most people that I believe about 90% of Americans will get 2 servings or less. So, when you talk about 4 to 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, what does that look like? Well, there's all kinds of different ways. You don't have to just you don't have to have salad 3 meals a day. There's all kinds of different ways to do that. And that's why it's one of the reasons that I wrote the Healthy Vegan Cookbook to demonstrate that. Um, but you asked the question like, what does it look like to eat 4 or 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day? Certainly, salad is a great way to be able to do that. But having the same kind of salad gets kind of boring, for me anyway, pretty quickly. So the way that I really keep that fresh and interesting is using lots of different salad dressings. And also, they say like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. 4 to 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, that will keep the doctor away. And if you have like 9 or 10 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, your doctor would put a poster of you on their wall at the office and say, do like that. That's really a huge part of why I do what I do and teach these classes is to help people do that. So after all of that talking, we'll finally get to the recipes. So let's dive right in. All right, so the first recipe we're going to do today is the creamy dill dressing. So it's one of my favorite recipes and hopefully going to be one of your favorites soon. The first ingredient we have for this is vegan yogurt. So I made this yogurt myself. I have the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker. It has the yogurt setting on it. It really couldn't be easier to make it on your own. And of course, it's so much cheaper and you'd be able to control what you put into it. So I do have a recipe in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook of how to make your own vegan yogurt. You basically just use a plant-based milk that doesn't have any flavors or sweeteners or anything in it, just totally plain. So that way you can control, if you want to use oat milk or almond milk or soy milk. This is soy, but you can really use any kind that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 3/4 of a cup of the yogurt first. All right, so there we go. All right, and then that gives it a nice tanginess to it. And then I'm going to add 1/2 cup of the silken tofu here. So mix that in. That's going to help make it nice and creamy. All right, and then I'm going to put in a tablespoon of lemon juice. I squeezed that before we got started. So, I always like to make a joke in the classes that, you can take the really lazy way and use the plastic lemon that has the lemon juice in it. I like to make the joke. I'm really just teasing. If that's what you have, that's fine. Um, but lemons are kind of an example of what I call like the 4-day fresh rule, right? So if you squeeze a lemon, it's going to last in your refrigerator for about 4 days or so, and then it's going to start turning it. And so, you get that stuff in the plastic bottle and it lasts for months and it sits in your refrigerator. Why does it last that long? It's not supposed to. Um, So there's preservatives and things in there, but they're going to preserve the lemon juice. It's not going to preserve you. So use the fresh if you can. So I'm going to go ahead and add a tablespoon of the lemon juice, and I'm going to add 1 clove of garlic. This is a large clove, so it's going to give me lots of extra flavor. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of shallot. Shallots are an onion, a very mild onion. It's sort of like a cross in flavor between garlic and onion, so it's got a really nice flavor to it. To this, I'm also going to add a couple of spices. I have 1/4 of a teaspoon of mustard powder, yellow mustard powder, and then also I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You definitely don't need to add that if you're SOS free. Just go ahead and skip the salt, but I like the flavor that it adds in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and blend this up just like it is. And then I'll add the fresh herbs after that. I have, of course, the fresh dill and then the fresh parsley. This is really a recipe where the fresh herbs really make such a difference. So I've tried this with dried dill, dried parsley in times when I didn't have anything else, and it's okay. But really, it makes a huge difference if you have fresh. So I'm going to go ahead and blend this up for a minute here. Go. So it doesn't take that much. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and empty this into a quart mason jar here. There we go. So that's the base of it. You can see it's already nice and creamy. All right, and then I have the chopped herbs. So I have about a tablespoon of chopped fresh dill here, and then also a teaspoon of chopped parsley. So you really want to chop this up really fine. You can use, by the way, flat leaf or curly, it doesn't matter as far as the parsley goes. You just want lots of dill. That's the main thing. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in here. All right. And then I'm going to mix this up here. All right. So this is a pretty creamy, pretty thinner consistency. If you really want it to be thicker, you can add some more of the silken tofu to that. But this is really just perfect like it is. So I'm going to go ahead and put this aside. We'll move on to the next recipe. All right, so the next salad dressing that we're going to make for today is carrot ginger dressing. So if you've ever been into a Japanese restaurant or Thai restaurant, a lot of times, they'll have a little side salad just to get started, and that will have carrot ginger dressing on it. Has a really nice taste of the toasted sesame seed oil in it, but usually it's got a lot of oil in it. So here we're going to make the healthier version of that and hopefully recreate the same kind of taste that are in that as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with the silken tofu. So I put in a 1/2 cup. Like I said, you can use the cauliflower blend or the potato blend. That's fine too, but we use the silken tofu for that to get started. There we go. So 1/2 cup of that. I'm going to put in 1 cup of water here. Put that in. All right, I'm going to put in 1/3 cup of apple cider vinegar. So really, anytime I use vinegar in recipes, I usually use apple cider vinegar. Maybe sometimes some balsamic if it is, requires that different taste. But otherwise, any recipe that I make that calls for vinegar, I always use apple cider vinegar because of the extra health properties that you get as a bonus, and I like the taste. So there's the vinegar. All right, and then I'm going to put in 3 medium carrots chopped into like 1-inch segments here. I always like to make a joke. I'm a really lazy cook. I really like to let the appliances do all the work for me. So you really just rough chop this, and then the blender is going to do all the rest for you. So back before when I was saying, 4 to 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, 9 or 10 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. What is an easier way to do that than to dress a salad of vegetables with other vegetables? So this salad dressing is really vegetable based. Here you go. We'll put in the carrots here. Of course, you want to leave the peels on. The peels are where so much of the nutrition is. Just make sure you wash it off really well. I'm going to put in like a 2-inch piece of fresh ginger. All right, so I want this to be real strong of ginger taste. So you don't have to peel it. Just make sure that it's nice and clean. And like I said, just go ahead and put it in the blender. Let the blender do the rest. To this, I'm going to add 1 medium shallot. Here we go. So the shallot is, of course, a very mild onion. And then I'm going to add 1 clove of garlic here. All right. And I'll add 3 medjool dates to this one. So, of course, any fan of Chef AJ knows medjool dates are the way to go, using these for sweetness, the only healthy whole food sweetener. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in here. If you have trouble finding dates in the supermarket, this is what it looks like where I live. I can find these at any of the regular supermarkets that I shop at. It used to be more of a specialty ingredient, but the regular supermarkets have them now at this point. Also, ethnic markets, a lot of times, like Middle Eastern restaurants, if you have something like that near you, you can find these here too. Just make sure that, like these ones are already pitted, but make sure the medjool dates, make sure you take the pits out, because the Vitamix is very powerful, but it's just going to turn your pits into baby pits, and that is the pits. All right, so also going to add a tablespoon of tamari to this. All right, so tamari is very similar to soy sauce. To me, it kind of has a darker, sort of richer taste to it. Soy sauce to me is like kind of sharper, but I really prefer the taste of tamari. For anybody who is gluten-free, tamari is the better one because it is not fermented with any wheat. It's just soy. So there's the tamari, and that also gives it the natural form of sodium as well, so that kind of gives it some saltiness to it. Uh, the last one is going to be, normally I would add a tablespoon of toasted sesame oil, just to really kind of get that same flavor that you're going to get at a restaurant. One alternative to that, without having to use the oil, is I did toast the sesame seeds. I just dry roasted them. I have the little cast iron skillet. You want to just make sure that you keep moving it so that it doesn't burn. Kind of roast them on a low medium heat, just until they are roasted. It really becomes nice and fragrant. So you can go ahead and add this, and it's going to give you the same flavor. Not quite as concentrated and strong as using toasted sesame seed oil, but it's going to give you the same kind of flavor. So I'll add that in here, and of course with a powerful blender, it's just going to blend that right in. So you're not going to have like seedy like pulp left. It's all just going to blend right in. So especially with this recipe, because of all the carrots, you really want to let this blend for, I'd say, like 4 or 5 minutes. You just let it go for a while. But you really want to break down those carrots to make sure that it's not fibrous at all. You don't need chunks of anything as you're pouring it out. This is supposed to be nice and smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and blend this for a minute here. Just get started. All right. So if I was teaching this cooking class live in person, I would definitely set this aside and just let it blend for 4 or 5 minutes, make it nice and smooth. Miracle of doing this online is you don't have to sit there for 5 minutes and watch me do that. So I will go ahead and edit all of that out so you don't have to sit there and watch. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pour this in here. You can see how nice and smooth it is here. All right, and I can really, I can smell that the toasted sesame seeds that are blended in here. So this does make about a quart of salad dressing, so it really does make quite a bit. Um, so you can definitely, like I said, you can freeze this and it'll last a long time that way. So carrot ginger dressing, great way to get an extra bit of vegetable in here, dressing your vegetables with another vegetable. It's great. So cheers for that. All right, so we're back for another recipe. This one is going to be sun gold dressing. So this one uses nutritional yeast. So if you're not familiar with that, nutritional yeast is an inactive yeast. It's not like brewer's yeast or anything like that. It comes in the form of yellow flakes here. It really gives things a nice cheesy, kind of nutty flavor to it. Adds a really great tangy flavor to it. So that's really kind of the base of this recipe. I've actually made this recipe on Chef AJ's live on YouTube before, but like I said earlier, usually I have used cashews. The recipe is in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook, but I use cashews as a base to make it nice and creamy. But we're going to use the alternatives today. So, this is a really good one. Just like the carrot ginger dressing, really great one to use those alternatives like the cauliflower blend or the potato blend. In this kind of dressing, it really just kind of hangs out in the back and serves as a base to make it nice and creamy. So we'll go ahead and get started with this. So I'm going to put in 1 cup of nutritional yeast. So this used to be really more of a specialty item. You'd have to go to Whole Foods to get something like to get nutritional yeast. Um, you know, like I said, I've been vegan for 26 years, and one of the wonderful things that I've seen in the time that I've been vegan is, these specialty products are becoming so much more readily available. So that even my own supermarket, it's just a regular supermarket down the street, they have nutritional yeast. So I usually find this. They have it in the baking section. Um, they have it. They might not know what to do with it or where to put it, but they probably have it. Also, Trader Joe's has nutritional yeast. Of course, Whole Foods. You can certainly order this online. It's pretty easy to get, and it does have a long shelf life, so it stores in the pantry for a long time. So I'll go ahead and add the 1 cup of nutritional yeast here. All right, and then I'm going to add a half a cup of water, and I'll add a half a cup of the silken tofu here, or you can use the half a cup of the cauliflower blend or half a cup of the potato blend. And I'm also going to add about 1/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar here. Right. And then I will add 2 teaspoons of tamari. Again, just trying to give it a little bit of an extra saltiness to it. I like the rich flavor that it adds. And then I'm going to be really bold, and I'm going to add 2 cloves of garlic to this. Before with the carrot ginger dressing, we added 1 clove for a whole lot. This, I definitely want the garlic to be nice and strong flavor in here. So 2 cloves, we'll put that in. All right, and then I'll go ahead and blend this up. Um, this doesn't have to blend for a really long time. You're really just kind of mixing everything together and making sure that the garlic is nice and blended. As much as I love garlic, don't really need a big chunk of it in my salad. So I'm going to go ahead and blend this up. All right, that should do nicely. All right, so I always mention, one of the things I like so much about Vitamix is it does have the variable speed knob on it, so it really gives me full control of the speed so that I can turn it up and down in different amounts. It's not like a regular blender that you just, push the different buttons and it has those settings. Um, Also, you notice anytime that I blend, I always have my hand over the top when I start to make sure that the top does not come flying off. So uh, I have a white ceiling above me, and it has stayed white because I keep my hand covering the blender. I don't want to redecorate my ceiling. It looks great as it is. So, all right. So this recipe is going to make about a pint. So here we go. We can pour that in. There we go. So it's nice and thick. All right, thanks to the base of the silken tofu. You can definitely play with the consistency. If you want it to be a little bit thicker, you can just add some more of that blend or the silken tofu to it. Add maybe a little bit less water, or if you wanted to thin it out, you can just add a little bit more water to it. So this is one of my favorite dressings. I love this one. Uh, this is one where I'd be happy to drown my salad in this dressing just because I love the flavor so much. And why not? It's really healthy for you. So there we go. There's the sun gold dressing. And we'll go ahead on to the next one. All right, so the next dressing on the list is going to be mango mustard dressing. So this is kind of a unique combination. So sort of what I was going for when I wrote this recipe was sort of like a honey mustard kind of dressing where it's nice and sweet, but then it's also got the tanginess of the mustard in it. So why not instead of using honey, why not use some fruit like mango? It adds a really interesting a great extra flavor to this. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I like to use 1 cup of frozen mango that's been thawed out. Of course, if you use fresh mango, it's going to taste the best. But certainly from a convenience standpoint, um, like I said, I'm a lazy cook. I'm all about convenience. Frozen mango is really so much more convenient to me. Anytime I can just pull it out of the freezer and make this dressing. So 1 cup of frozen mango that's been thawed out. And I'm going to put in 1/4 cup of silken tofu into this, or the cauliflower blend, or the potato blend. So just 1/4 cup, doesn't need a lot. All right, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar to this one. There we go. And so that is all the liquid that this is going to need, actually, because the fruit already has plenty of liquid in it. So don't really need to add any extra water to it. You're going to add 2 tablespoons of prepared yellow mustard. So, of course, you can alter the flavor of this recipe with, any of the different mustards, the Dijon, any of the different ones. But I'm just going to use some regular old yellow mustard with this. All right, and of course, it's going to give it a really nice, brilliant yellow color as well. All right, I'm going to add 2 medjool dates for a little bit of sweetener. So in addition to the mango, just kind of give it a little extra sweetness. Really helps to offset the tartness of the vinegar and the mustard in there. And then this is totally optional. I would add a teaspoon of salt to this. If you're SOS free, you can just leave it out. That's fine. But I like that it really kind of boosts the flavors here of everything. So I'm going to go ahead and blend this up for a minute. Especially if you've thawed out the mango, it's not going to take a long time to blend this. Really just a minute or two just to make sure that all of the dates have been blended in. So I'm going to go ahead and run the blender for a minute here. So with this one, I find it's helpful just to kind of scrape the sides down a bit here. Use a spoon or a spatula or something, just to kind of get it, it kind of goes up on the wall of the blender a little bit. So I'll scrape that down a little bit. Right, and then I'll blend it for a little bit longer. All right. So this recipe ends up making about a pint, maybe a little bit less than half a pint of the dressing. And of course you can thin it out a little bit more if you wanted to, add some water to it, but I like this as kind of nice and creamy as it is. All right, so mango mustard dressing, you can see it's nice and yellow, all right, from the mango and all the mustard that's in it. So really sweet but also tangy salad dressing to add to your salad. All right, so mango mustard dressing. Cheers for that, and we'll go on to the next. All right, so the last recipe that we're going to do for today is vegan ranch dressing. So I do have this is a different version of what's in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook. Again, normally I'm going to use cashews as a base for that, but really trying to make sure that it has very little to no fat in it at all. Um, this recipe is going to be for that. So, ranch dressing, I definitely still remember the first time I had ranch dressing when I was a kid. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to put this on everything. This is the best salad dressing I've ever had. So, for me, trying to come up with vegan versions, anytime I've had anything from the store, like from the supermarket, vegan ranch dressing, it wasn't that same thing. It just wasn't that same thing. So when I developed the recipe for my own as a fresh salad dressing, I tried kind of different flavorings and uh, uh, different, different variations of it. And so the one time, I got everything right, and I just said, "Damn, this is good." Okay, yes. So if I can make this without using any or very, very low fat to no fat at all, even better, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. So I want this to be really nice and creamy, so I'm going to put in 1 cup of the silken tofu into this. So I'll kind of use this recipe as an example. Uh, like I said, with the cauliflower blend or the potato blend, some of the other dressings like Sun Gold or the carrot ginger dressing or the mango mustard dressing, those are perfectly fine to use the cauliflower blend or potato blend in this one, and then also the creamy dill dressing where it's a white dressing and it's really creamy based. Um, it's a little trickier to use the cauliflower with that. So I'll give you an example. So this is the ranch dressing that I made with the cauliflower base. Everything else is exactly the same as what we're going to do here, but with the cauliflower blend. So you can see here, the color is not right, right? So it's kind of tan looking because cauliflower itself is not really super white. It's not like the tofu. Especially if you're adding some other things to it, then it kind of darkens the color. So, honestly, not the most appetizing salad dressing to look at. But, if you are allergic to soy and you don't want to have any nuts or anything, then the cauliflower blend is a way to go. It's just, I would say in advance, it's going to taste fine. It's just going to look a little bit different. So, uh, there's the cauliflower blend version. Another thing with the cauliflower, not so much with the potato. Anytime I've made it with the potato blend, you don't really taste the potato in there, but with the cauliflower, the cauliflower does have its own taste. It doesn't really sit in the background very easily. It has its own taste there. And so you really want to make sure that with all the flavorings, anytime you use the cauliflower base, you really want to kind of overpower that. You want to force it into the background. Um, so I would say, anytime you're going to be using the cauliflower base as with the dressings, you would want to use um, extra seasonings. Kind of play with the extra seasonings. Don't use extra salt because that's going to kind of amplify the taste of the cauliflower. But if you have seasonings, herbs, things like that, just add more. So, like in the vegan ranch dressing, I would actually double the amount of the seasonings that I put in if I was using the cauliflower, except for there is a quarter teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Just leave it at a quarter teaspoon. Half a teaspoon is just too much. It's going to be too strong. So, all right. So we have the tofu that I put in. I'm going to put in about 3 tablespoons of water just to be able to add some liquid to it. All right, going to add some spices in. I have a quarter teaspoon of the ground black pepper, of a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder, and a quarter teaspoon of onion powder, the dried spices. You could definitely use a clove of garlic if you want, but I'm just using the dried powder this time. All right, so those are the dried spices. To this, I'm going to add the next 2 ingredients are really critical to me. It just doesn't taste right without these 2. I put in about 3 drops of liquid smoke. So you probably know about this already, but liquid smoke is just water that's been infused with smoke, so it's got a really beautiful smoky flavor to it. Um, again, this used to be kind of a specialty ingredient, but they now have this at my regular supermarket. You would need to go into the condiment aisle and you look where like this A1 steak sauce is. It's probably going to be pretty close to that. So this is a hickory liquid smoke flavor. A little bit goes a long way, so we really don't need to add that much. Just a little bit, several drops is going to be fine. And then the other thing is going to be fresh parsley. So you can definitely use dried parsley if that's what you have, but this recipe, it really makes such a huge difference if you use the 2 tablespoons, or 2 teaspoons of fresh parsley that's really well minced up, really well chopped. It's just going to be so much better than dried parsley. But we're going to blend everything together first, but the parsley. I found if you put the parsley in and then blend it, it's just going to be a green salad dressing. And green salad dressing uh, it's just not super appetizing. Sort of like the tan salad dressing here. So I'm going to go ahead and blend this first for a minute. All right. So that is all blended, and I'll pour it into the pint mason jar here. So it does make about a pint. And you can see that, the consistency, it's nice and creamy, just like the regular ranch dressing that you're used to. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the parsley into here. And I will just kind of mix it together here. Get all of it in. I want to make sure I get all that flavor in there. All right, so there's parsley. Mix that all together. And this is really just the perfect taste and consistency for me. Right, so this is absolutely one of my favorite salad dressings to use. Vegan ranch dressing, and then without any or nominal amount of fat in it, then you can really use as much as you want. So there we go. There's the vegan ranch dressing. All right, so that's going to do it for the class for today. Thanks so much for joining me in the Ultimate Weight Loss Bundle with Chef AJ. So for this class, just wanted to, before you go, say a few things. First of all, I should create a Facebook page for salad drenchers, as I have always been. And with these recipes, it gives you a chance to drench your salad in salad dressing if you want. So, um, especially if it's really very low fat or no fat, then, you can just add as much salad dressing as you want, and everybody can stare at you and laugh, but that's how I like salad. So, uh, the best way to be able to follow me if you're interested is you can go onto my website, which is colincooksvegan.com. It's COLIN cooksvegan.com. And so there's a number of things on there. There's my YouTube channel you can find from there that has different cooking videos on it. There's my Facebook page, Colin Cooks Vegan on Facebook, and you can follow that. Uh, Also, most importantly, is I do teach at a lot of libraries. Like I said in the beginning, the classes are all free. And so on my website, there is a Google Calendar that shows all of the different dates on the different classes that I'm teaching at. So, it doesn't matter if you're from New England or not. You can just go ahead and register for any of the classes that I do ahead of time. And like I said, they're all free. And so I do the classes on Zoom. They're normally about an hour long. And certainly in the continuing pandemic, I'm doing a lot of virtual classes. So, I teach. There's salad dressings that I do, smoothies, different soups, smoothies, all kinds of different ones. Smoothies. One of the smoothies that I teach, and that's in the Healthy Vegan Cookbook, is the Black Forest smoothie, which was actually named by Veg News as one of the top 10 vegan smoothies in the world. So, very proud of that one. Just to make my publisher happy here, there's the Healthy Vegan Cookbook. Like I said, there's over 200 recipes in there, and let's see, that is on Amazon in print and ebook version as well. And then there's the smoothies that taste like Girl Scout cookies. This has all 10 of the Girl Scout cookie flavors in smoothie form. And also, this is available on Amazon in print and ebook version. One more thing I wanted to point out with the Healthy Vegan Cookbook is, I had said in the beginning, really, Chef AJ has really helped to inspire me to teach classes to people all over from, where I live. And there's actually a chapter in here in the back that I really wanted to explore that some more. So, I really give a lot of tips and strategies about how to use healthy vegan cooking classes as a form of vegan advocacy. There's those of us out there who love to go to protests, and a lot of us are really active online in different forums and Facebook pages and things like that. What I really like to do for vegan advocacy that really works well for me is to be able to teach classes at libraries. Believe it or not, libraries are usually uh, pretty receptive to having different programming. A little tougher right now because of the pandemic, but in person, libraries all have budgets to be able to do adult activities, teen activities, things like that. So that's one thing to consider. I've been teaching now for about like 6 or 7 years now, taught tons of cooking classes. Most of the people that I've taught to are not vegetarian or vegan. It's just everybody's coming to it either, because they have heard about it, they're interested in it, or they just want to learn some healthier recipes for their family. It's kind of great way to kind of introduce people to that if they're not familiar with that. And I get to answer the question 300 times a day of where do you get your protein and things like that. But I've been vegan for a long time, so I'm used to all that. So just wanted to say, as another form of vegan advocacy, I do have a chapter in the book that really details how you reach out to places, how you kind of get your foot in the door, and how you can sort of take the message and spread that as well. So I want to thank you again, and Chef AJ, for having me be part of the bundle. Hope you enjoy the recipes, and I hope to see you next time.